In a massive medieval social experiment, I gathered 200 Minecraft players to see what would happen if their homeland was invaded by barbarians. Will the mayor of the villagers organize his people and defend his home, or will the barbarian chief conquer this valley? Just like in real life, if a player dies, they're gone forever. The conclusion of this event was insane, so sit back and enjoy. At the beginning, all the villagers spawn into the town of Northwinde in a complete panic. Mayor Papacino attempts to address his people, but they're simply out of control.
Villagers, please do not run around looting everything.
The villagers were in a free-for-all to get whatever gear they could find within the town. I guess that's what happens when barbarian death is imminent. Speaking of barbarians, they didn't have much of a better start. They spawned within the walls of Fort Greymund, a military fortress that they raided last night. This was going to be their new home until they could move further south to a better climate. Their leader, Hool the Fool, was struggling to keep these savages in line.
No, don't scout! Stay here!
Now, in this series, realism is a big factor. Immediately, it became apparent that getting food would be a huge challenge in the cold climate. Animals were hard to come by, and crops didn't grow at vanilla speeds. Some barbarians decided to raid a nearby farm to help solve their food issues.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm like really hungry.
Stop. What are you up to? Hey.
I just came
Who
here.
are you?
The farmers are threatened and they're shaken down for everything they have. They secretly gather and decide it's safest to leave their farm. The barbarian savages were unpredictable and it was no longer safe here. So they head south in an attempt to find safety elsewhere. Another group of barbarians captured their first prisoner, and they decided to bring her to Chief Hool the Fool for interrogation.
We're not here to just murder every single person. We're here just to make a life for ourselves and prosperity for my people. There's a farm out front. We can take you back there, and you can definitely help out there. If I find out that any of you guys harm her, you will be locked up and exiled.
This valley was a lot bigger and more dangerous than most players imagined. Two barbarians, McFlurp and Dar the Mad, were about to find this out firsthand. They stumbled on a graveyard a little ways south of their fort, and it seems McFlurp was a little too excited to explore inside the crypt, even though there was a body right outside the door.
Maybe this was his booby trap, who knows?
You know what? We're going in. Be careful. I think if we do not go in here, we might miss something.
Or we can die a horrible death like that person at the front.
Oh, watch out.
Oh my god, oh, careful. People!
Get up there. No.
Slain by the psychopaths, the bodies began piling up. But for some reason, players kept walking into this graveyard like it wasn't a scene straight out of a horror movie. This includes our group of farmers from earlier. They found themselves making their way into the crypt. Why did they think this was safe? Who knows? Two of the farmers escaped after witnessing their brother being murdered by the psychos. Back at the village, Gumrock had learned of this barbarian attack on Fort Greymund and knew that his sister, a P-boy, was living right near the fort.
I need to find my sister. She's somewhere up north. I don't know how to get to her.
Harry and Bill agree they'll help him rescue his sister if she's still alive. Meanwhile, some of the villagers had been making their way around the map, equally hungry to find what loot they could. That's when they stumbled upon a military training camp. Here, they were able to find decent military loot, and they also ran into a player named Igloo Wi-Fi. The villagers told Igloo about the barbarians having taken Fort Greymund, so together they bravely decided to scout ahead towards the fort to assess the threat. After they entered enemy territory, they stumble on a family of farmers being taken back to Fort Greymund by a barbarian. The villagers make quick work of this lone barbarian and save the farmers. The farmers are then sent back to Northwinde for safety and to deliver their much-needed food supplies into town. Igloo and his team bravely push onwards, deeper into enemy territory. Little did they know, they were about to stumble into huge danger. They find a group of barbarians shearing leaves and demand they drop their armor. The barbarians flee and quickly bring reinforcements to counter the villager scouts. A fight ensues between the two groups. Arrows fly and blood is shed, until the barbarian chief Hool steps forward to end the conflict.
Hey, let's talk this out. Who's the leader of your thing?
Hool the Fool and Igloo Wi-Fi step to the side for a conversation, their men itching for a fight. Hool warns Igloo that he's come too far and needs to turn around, and he'll allow them to leave peacefully. Igloo reluctantly accepts the armistice, knowing full well he would have lost this fight. The villagers head off, and on their way back to the village, they spot a barbarian being chased away by other villagers. Instead of showing mercy like Hool did for them, they take him prisoner. They return together to the central bridge, and the villagers decide that half of their force will remain there to secure the crossing from any barbarians attempting to make their way through to the village. This bridge, known as Mammoth's Crossing, is a major strategic point on the map. To the north, the mountains are steep and impassable, and further south, the river cuts the map in half, and there are no bridges to cross except this one. To enhance the realism in this scenario, the water also dealt freezing damage, so if players tried to swim, they would freeze to death before making it across. Also, boats couldn't be crafted and could only be found in rare circumstances. This means that whoever gains control of Mammoth's Crossing also gains the strategic advantage. Igloo Wi-Fi and his gang of soldiers head back into town with their barbarian prisoner named Nikki. They build Nikki a nice little 1-block wide prison in the center of town, officially making him the town fool. This is when Mayor Papacino and Captain Igloo Wi-Fi meet for the first time. Papacino decides to task Igloo as the captain of the village defense force. Papacino gathered the players who stuck around and created 4 task forces of villagers. One task force would be responsible for the front lines, another would be responsible for the defense of the village itself, and 2 groups would be responsible for collecting resources and dispersing them to the other groups. The villagers were finally getting themselves organized, and hopefully it wasn't too late. Back on the barbarian side of things, Zoreno and Dashing found themselves in a huge underground mine. Deep in the belly of this mine, there was a massive lava pit, with what appeared to be loot on the opposite end. Dashing took it upon himself to make an attempt to reach the other side. He made it past and scored himself a god apple and diamonds. Despite these 2 successfully navigating the lava, other people didn't have the same luck. At Fort Greymund, Bok's deity realized he could solve their food situation by turning leaves into bone meal to grow their crops. Solving the starvation problem allowed the barbarian team to build out their defenses and plant farmland within the security of their walls. Other barbarians also created a fishing pit within the fort to help gather loot items and more food for their soldiers. Overall, it appeared there was more unity between the barbarian army compared to the villagers. Their men stuck closer to the fort and worked together to equip each other with supplies. At this point, Sokkakorn had arrived at the graveyard to investigate the report of an artifact being found, which is when he had a face-to-face encounter with the psychopaths.
Hey, you guys can put your weapons down, and if you give us the artifact, we will not attack.
There is no artifact, only our home.
Well, then we want your home.
Another barbarian arrives, and the 2 decide to slowly push forward into the graveyard. The psychopaths fall back into the crypt, where they can funnel their enemies in through the cobwebs and slaughter them more easily. The barbarians hold off pushing forward, and instead, they decide to gather reinforcements first. Taking this opportunity, Crazed Jay guards the door, while Pidgey gathers their supplies. The psychopaths decide they've garnered too much attention, and it was time for them to leave their home before more people arrived. 2 villagers, Anthony and Genindraz, decide they need to go scout Fort Greymund and get an updated picture on what's happening at the fort. They arrive outside the walls without trouble and manage to sneak a peek at the additional fortifications built around the fort. They're quickly spotted and are chased away. However, Genindraz seem to have different plans.
I have an idea. Go on ahead without me, alright?
Alright.
I'm going for intel. Sneaking them from the back.
Okay. Good luck.
Which worked out great. Super Hempfi, one of the barbarian commanders, decides he's going to lead a small group to go and retrieve their prisoner Nikki from the villagers. They head off in the wrong direction. Heading the wrong way, they find some other barbarians who had built a base a little ways north. Super Hempfi's team scales mountains until they find the edge of the world. Then they descend after having found nothing else. They cross a lake to find a shipwreck, although it appears it was already looted before them. Finally facing the right direction, they get distracted by seeing a fishing hut nearby. They cook some food and head off, again in the wrong direction, only to make a full circle back to their base.
What is this, the main base?
Ending their extremely productive prisoner rescue mission. Another group of barbarians attempt a slightly more successful rescue mission. Skywing and Octoling begin tunneling underground until they are directly underneath their comrade Nikki, only to realize that Nikki had been freed. Apparently, Igloo Wi-Fi freed Nikki after sitting in his cell for hours. Nikki agreed in exchange he would betray his fellow barbarians by infiltrating their base later on. Skywing and Octoling decide they're going to sneak deeper into the village to cause havoc, until Deputy Mayor Adam walks in.
Kill him, kill him, kill him.
Skywing slips away unharmed, but Octoling was too slow and gets killed in the center of town. The villager defense team never built any walls around their town and left it vulnerable to larger attacks. If the barbarians somehow managed to get a larger party across the river, Northwinde would easily fall. Despite all the crazy action between the villagers and barbarians, there was a man completely unbothered by the conflict taking place. A strange person living in his tower in the northern mountains. Tech Wizard was on a mission. The people of this land worshipped a group of gods known as the Valmar. They built their churches for them and prayed for glory and fortune. But Tech Wizard knew something that the regular folks would never know. The Valmar gods were real, and they once walked these very lands. Throughout time, Tech Wizard had been collecting artifacts left behind by these gods. Today, he was journeying south to attempt to find one of these rare artifacts. Along the way, he finds some villagers eager for an adventure. He ends up recruiting a small group of them to help him on his quest. The group arrives at the bridge to see villagers had built up a defensive wall to keep the barbarians at bay. Tech Wizard's research had indicated this artifact would be found further south in the valley, at the end of a trail of birch. Soon enough, the expedition had found the trail of birch trees leading south into the mountains. Tailory had spotted a hidden entrance into the mountain. The group leash their horses outside and enter the tunnel.
I'd like to make clear that I'm not responsible for anything that happens to you.
The villagers agree, and they venture forward into the darkness. Back at the bridge, a few villagers and a friendly barbarian named Endercube decide to send a peace offering to the barbarian team. This small group of players created a friendship between each other, and they thought it could be possible for the two factions to get along and make peace. Endercube passes the book to a barbarian messenger who begins riding back to Fort Greymund with the message. Just then, a farmer and the barbarian prisoner, a P-boy, arrive together at the bridge. Apparently, they worked together to escape barbarian territory, and here they were at Mammoth's Crossing, asking for refuge with the villagers. However, the bridge guards became wary. Who are these strange people at their gates, coming in from enemy territory, asking to be let past the wall? The villagers deliberate the fate of these two pleading souls, until someone else arrives. It was Gumrock.
A P-boy? A P-boy! That's my sister! That's my sister! That's a P-boy! That's my sister! Let her in!
Captain Igloo Wi-Fi grants passage to the refugees, and Gumrock is reunited with his sister. They head back to the village to bring her into safety. By now, the peace offering letter gets delivered to the second in command of the entire barbarian army, Blocksaver Max. Max reads out this letter to a large group of barbarians to get their reaction.
Stop the war, stop fighting. Peace will lead to prosperity for all. Please listen to me. Help me save everyone. The villagers want peace as much as me. Believe it, and it can be done. I say he's a traitor. That's what I say.
We could definitely take them.
Okay.
Let's charge them.
I guess a letter coming from a traitor wasn't welcome here. Just then, Sokkakorn arrives back at Fort Greymund, demanding that reinforcements come with him to neutralize the graveyard psychopaths. The next morning, barbarians send out riders. They arrive to find the crypt abandoned by the psychopaths. They explore inside and find a lava-filled hall. One of the barbarians named Hijacked attempts to make it across.
Step aside, I'm gonna do the parkour. I'm fine. I have like loads of hearts.
Successfully doing so, he claims the treasure on the other side.
Dude, I got another diamond. I can make a diamond sword if you give me your one.
A fellow barbarian, SBF-8, decides to share an extra diamond so that Hijacked can make a rare diamond sword. The barbarians return to camp with their new prize. Deep in the mountains, Tech Wizard and his expedition partners Dreadmask and Tailory find the lost entrance to an ancient Valmar temple. They enter the labyrinth slowly, wary of any traps that could kill them. Eventually, they discover a dangerous hallway where if you step on the wrong block, you fall to your death. The adventurers boldly maneuver their way across the path, raising their confidence that they might just make it to the end. Until their spirits are completely crushed looking at the next obstacle. They have to jump from chain to chain or they'll fall into the void. Up next were the lava pits, claiming their first victim, Tailory.
Tailory, no!
Dreadmask begins walking forward, knees shaking, until Tech Wizard finds a secret passage alongside of the lava pits.
Dreadmask, we don't have to do it!
Distracted by what Tech Wizard just said, Dreadmask loses his footing and burns to his death. It was now up to Tech Wizard to continue his quest alone. He bypasses the lava and completes the final jumps. At long last, he arrives in the belly of the temple and finds his treasure. His quest was complete and the cost was minimal. Tech Wizard escapes the temple and begins his ride back to the tower. The psychopaths Crazy J and Pidgey wound up amassing an army of dogs in the wilderness. The group end up making their way along the river until they found Mammoth's Crossing. They hope to find the villagers in order to seek refuge from the barbarian army looking for them.
We have a mutual enemy.
The barbarians are after us.
The villagers, not knowing who these two were, gladly let them in. The barbarian group consisting of Hijacked, Sockacorn, SBF-8, and UFO Crafter ride towards the central bridge to scout the villagers and see what they can find. They discover the villagers have expanded their defenses, creating a two-stage wall system. However, there didn't appear to be many villagers defending these walls, so the barbarians decide to get closer and prod for information about barbarian prisoners. The defense commander Igloo Wi-Fi shows up and he and Hijacked exchange snowballs. The villagers deny having any more prisoners, and suddenly a whole lot more troops show up on the wall. The barbarians continue to test the villagers, but they back up slowly when the wall is filled with defenders in order to strategize.
Bro, they have so many players now. Should we just go up there and like kill their horses or something? You see that one guy, Mint, he's standing right on the border. We could easily hit him off.
The barbarians continue to instigate the villagers, and it's clear the situation is degrading. Barbarian reinforcements arrive, eager to fight. The tension between the two sides is palpable, and all-out conflict seems to be inches away. SBF-8's horse jumps, and he glitches into the air, frozen in place. The villagers take this opportunity and kill him.
No! SBF-8!
This was the final straw. Conflict begins.
We fight, we fight, we fight!
We need to retreat!
Villagers begin jumping the walls. Mint, hungry for blood, takes his first victim.
Charge! 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 Fall back! Fall back!
Completely disorganized, the barbarians begin falling one by one, chased down by villager cavalry. Hijack's horse gets slain, and he's quickly overrun and slaughtered. His diamond sword claimed by Mint, the villager's most skilled warrior. An overwhelming victory turns the tides. The villagers regroup and lay out their kills, an omen to any barbarian who would attempt another attack. However, they weren't done yet. The villagers used this momentum to plant a traitor within the barbarian ranks. Igloo Wi-Fi pretends to chase Nikki towards the fort so that Nikki can appear to have escaped captivity. The plan is a success, and Nikki infiltrates his way into Fort Greymund. The barbarians are completely unaware that he's betrayed their team, and Nikki begins collecting information. Once satisfied with his progress, Nikki sabotages the base, lighting their buildings on fire. Fingers are being pointed at innocent comrades, and trust erodes within the barbarian ranks. Hool the Fool tries to organize his men to fight the out-of-control fires. At this point, Nikki jumps the wall and escapes. Skywing sees Nikki jump over. He rushes over to his leader to report the situation. Hool demands that Nikki be found and executed, but the traitor had run and couldn't be caught. When the panic had settled, Hool the Fool began feeling every ounce of defeat the barbarians had experienced today. After losing control of his people at the start, allowing them to be killed so easily at the bridge, and then having a traitor create distrust within his ranks, he had given up. In the middle of the night, lacking faith in his ability to lead any further, Hool the Fool abandoned his people and fled back to the mountains from where they came. Super Hempfi called a meeting for any barbarian still awake.
Hello everyone. I've gathered you all here because our leader, Hool, he's gone. He left us behind. Men, I know you may be discouraged by this news, but we have to keep going. While he may be gone, our cause remains. We have come this far, we will keep going. At dawn, we will crush the villager resistance and take claim of Northwinde. For the barbarians!
The next morning, the villagers gather in front of Town Hall.
Villagers, as you are all aware, our home has been threatened. Savages have descended into our valley, and they are here to pillage, steal, and murder your families, your friends, your loved ones. They will all die if we do not stand together and fight. Today, I expect the barbarians to hit us with their full force. If we hold the bridge, we maintain the advantage, and we win. If you are brave, and if you fight for your comrades, Northwinde shall stand to see another day. All of you, to the front lines.
The barbarians waste no time amassing their troops. They gather at the entrance of Fort Greymund, primed for combat. The unified barbarian army sets off towards the bridge, ready to make their assault and ultimately capture Northwinde. The villager front lines do their best to prepare for anything the barbarians might try. They send scouts to patrol the river, but otherwise, it's all a waiting game. Then, first contact is made.
Oh shoot.
Everyone, get ready. It's time to fight. Get ready. Sit down.
What was that?
A barbarian suicide bomber had made it to the wall. The villagers hop on their defenses, preparing to fight. The barbarian army comes into view, and the clash begins.
Collect their arrows.
The barbarians slowly push forward, using the cover they can find to avoid the counterfire.
They're struggling. Kill my dogs!
TNT is placed, and it successfully creates a hole. They push. Another TNT is placed, and a complete hole is made. The barbarians move forward, forcing their way in.
Get them back, get them back.
The hole is breached, and the barbarians scale the first wall. They're halfway there. More TNT is dropped, and the second wall is nearly broken already. If barbarians make it past this checkpoint, Northwinde is completely unprotected. The defense is failing.
Everyone push forward! Oh, shoot! Take out the dogs! Push forward with the dogs! Look out for the villagers! Back! Back!
In a stunning comeback, the villagers win the bridge thanks to the dog army. Anyone falling behind is quickly taken care of by the village vanguard unit. Most barbarians run back to hide behind their walls at Fort Greymund. Some of them manage to finish off the dogs in the forest, but their army is now spread too thin and they must regroup at the fort. The villagers, fresh off their defensive victory, begin taking inventory of the battle. Gumrock steps forward, filled with pride after seeing the unity displayed by his people.
I've never seen a more brave group of villagers in my entire life. And frankly, I didn't have the courage to be here. But because of my brave sister, I've decided to join you all in this great battle. I hope that every single one of you gets out of this alive. We must defend our friends. And most importantly, we must defend our family. We can do this, guys!
Huzzah! Yes, sir! Let's go, Gumrock!
We'll remember the fallen and continue this in their legacy. I cannot stress how awesome of a nation you guys have been. Keep fighting, and let's get those barbarians.
They march off to Fort Greymund. The barbarians frantically prepare to counter the incoming attack by digging a trench to slow down their enemy.
So now we're the defenders.
We managed to force them to use their secret weapon. Without their dogs, we may have a chance.
Villagers! Villagers! We're under attack!
The alarms sound. The barbarians had not yet finished their trench. They rush to cover as the villager assault begins.
For the fallen!
Breach, breach, breach!
The barbarians' first line of defense is immediately taken down. Anthony leads the charge as the barbarians flood back into their main base. But instead of sealing the gate, they flee into their dungeons. The villagers storm the fort, capturing the surface. Completely outnumbered, the barbarians make their final stand.
Your heads are being cut off the moment I find you.
Villagers descend the staircase. A grueling fight ensues to dominate the tunnels.
The secret entrance, guys.
Anthony finds a side entrance leading down into the tunnels.
Wait. Wait!
Where are you going, mister?
Wait! I surrender!
Let him live!
TNT!
I should have been happy to see my village defeat our enemies. But how do you call this victory? Were we truly any better than the barbarians? I don't know. All I know is my home is safe, my sister is alive, and in this world, that's all that counts.